Hi mer friends, my name is Justine, I'm the Mermaid Seamstress, and today I impulse made a mermaid tail in less than an hour. So my Mertailor Fantasea 2 has been a little neglected recently. What with my new whimsy tails for my Fantasea 3 fin, this guy hasn't been getting used much, and the reason for that was because I didn't have a tail skin for it, and I didn't want to damage it by taking it out without a tail skin. So I found this beautiful fabric that I had planned to do another project with, and that project fell through. So I decided that I was going to make a tail for this tail. The only catch was I needed it today for a meetup. And so I decided to take on the challenge to make this tail in under an hour. This tail features a mesh side fin on each side. It has an elastic waistband made from some more scrap fabric, and it is 2 colors. So it has this beautiful jade as the body and this beautiful holographic silver as the Fluke cover. So one of the reasons why I decided to film this journey was, one, to see if I could actually do it in less than an hour, and secondly, to show you guys that it's actually not super hard to make your own mermaid tail, even one with fins and different colors and more complex features. It's really not that challenging. So this isn't a full tutorial. I have tutorials on almost every part of this tail in much more detail, either already on my channel or coming very soon. But I wanted to give you guys a walkthrough of my process with this tail and how it turned out. So with that said, let's get on into the video. So I started out this tail by laying out my fabric, and I did, in this tail, I used a couple of hacks that I have used in the past. The first one was that I used a previous tail that I know that fits as my pattern. So instead of making a brand new pattern, I just took a tail that fit me. This one happened to be my Fin Fun tail, and I used that as my pattern for when cutting out the body. Now, with this tail, I was in a hurry, first of all, and second of all, you have to take it with a grain of salt that I've done this many times, and because I wasn't intending for this to be a tutorial, I did cut a couple of corners, both literally and figuratively. So when cutting out the kind of the basic shape for my Fluke here, I decided to freehand it, and you'll see me do that quite a bit. I'll freehand things, or I won't put as many pins in as I recommend that you would. And that's just because I've been doing this for 10 years, and so I kind of know what shortcuts I can get away with. So here you can just see that after tracing out the fabric, I'm going to round off the ends where my feet will be, and that will be the top of my foot pockets. So now I'm cutting out the Fluke, and again, this is where I'm cutting corners. Normally, I would be much more careful, and I would trace out my pattern on a piece of paper first, and then cut out the pattern, add my seam allowance and all of that right away. But I decided this time to just cut straight around my monofin, which with the silicone monofin is a little bit risky. I almost cut the monofin itself in a couple of spots, and my lines aren't perfect, but I knew I could fix that when I went back and sewed it. So now you'll see that I'm attaching the body of the tail to the Fluke, and I'm doing it slightly differently than I've done in my previous tutorials. In my previous tutorials, I sewed the two of them separately, and then sewed the Fluke part separately and the body part separately, and then put them together like a sleeve. This time I decided to overlay the body with the wrong side on the right side of the fabric, and top stitch it instead. So this leaves me with a raw edge exposed on the bottom of the tail, but I thought that it looked fine aesthetically, and in terms of strength, this stitch and this attachment is just as strong as doing a normal seam.
Right now I'm putting the side seams together, and I'm actually sliding in a piece of fabric, which is going to be some side fins. So I cut a piece of fabric with one straight edge and one wobbly edge, and I'm just sewing that, sandwiching it between the two right sides of the tail and doing that. So to make the waistband, I literally just rolled it over on itself twice to encapsulate the raw edge and sewed all the way around. I then cut a small hole in the waistband to feed through what is acting as my elastic band, which is just some scrap fabric that I've doubled in half. And then once I fed it all the way through, I overlapped it about an inch and sewed it down with a triple stitch so that it is nice and strong. And I made sure to go over it a couple of times. I probably went over it 3 or 4 times just to make sure under pressure it is not going to snap apart. Okay guys, so this is my finished tail. It took me about an hour and 20 minutes in total to make this. I still have to do a little bit of cleanup, and that did include the time that it took me to set up my cameras and make sure that everything was filming. So hopefully this gives you the confidence to make your own mermaid tail. I probably, it would be a little bit cleaner in the Fluke if I wasn't making it for the Fantasea Fin 2, because this thing is pretty darn complicated in terms of making sure that all of the spines are aligned and everything like that. But overall, I think it turned out really, really well. It is still open at the bottom, so we'll see how that behaves when it's swimming. But overall, I'm happy with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a really fun project to me and something that I really enjoy doing. It took me back to kind of the old days where I'd kind of just get inspiration, and if I had fabric, I'd just make a tail with whatever I had. So this was a little bit of a challenge because of the shape and how complex it is for the Fantasea Fin 2, but I think overall it is a pretty sturdy tail overall, and it'll help protect my Fantasea 2 when I take it out swimming, and it'll just look really gorgeous in the water with all of these sparkles. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below to make sure that you never miss another tutorial or swimming video or other awesome mermaid related content. If you are new to my channel, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you've been here a while, thank you so much for your support. If you would like to find a way to support me further and potentially see more tutorials, more in detailed tutorials in the future, I've just launched my Patreon page, patreon.com/themermaidseamstress, where you can support me for as little as $1 a month. There you will get exclusive behind the scenes footage that you cannot find anywhere else, and you will get sneak peeks of all of my upcoming projects and tutorials. You can even vote for what kind of videos you want to see in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to my Sea Star Patreons for supporting this episode. Bye, fish friends!